sports. Imlach eyes big runs in upcoming regional 4-day season, solidified West Indies spot. These and other stories coming up in SVG-TV News and Sports this evening at 7.
Good evening and welcome to SVG-TV News and Sports for Friday, April 10th, 2026. I am Twyla Thompson with the details. The La Soufrière volcano is currently being studied as part of a 3.5-year XX research project. 13 visiting scientists from universities in the United Kingdom and the United States are in St. Vincent and the Grenadines to carry out the project in collaboration with the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, and the UAE Seismic Research Center. Professor Jenny Barclay of the University of Bristol explained that the team's aim is to better understand what could happen during the next eruption.
So the aim of the project really is to deliver a step change into how we understand those drivers. And what that means for you on this island is we want to understand through research volcanic processes better. Nice for us. What we're hoping is nice for you is that when you have monitored signals through the Soufrière Monitoring Unit and seismic, we will understand better with longer time scale what might happen next.
As part of the project, 500 acoustic monitoring instruments will be installed at strategic locations across mainland St. Vincent. This will be led by Professor Jess Johnson and her team from the University of East Anglia.
But actually, the volcano makes very, very small sounds even when it's not doing anything that we can see. And seismology with the seismic stations, that's one of the first clues we have about what's happening under the ground before we see any changes at the surface. And so seismology, as Michelle was saying, we've got a fantastic network here. But we're taking the opportunity when the volcano is quiet to listen even closer to what's happening.
The XX Research Initiative is considered one of its kind and is expected to serve as a model for other observatories. Professor Richard Robertson of the UAE Seismic Research Center is encouraging Vincentians in communities across the island to take an interest in the project, noting that it will provide important benefits for managing future eruptions.
I'd encourage Vincentians. There are going to be people deploying instruments over the next couple of weeks, putting in these small instruments to detect what's happening on the ground. I'm going to encourage Vincentians to support them as much as possible. There are going to be people coming back and forth, knocking at the rocks, looking at different things over the next 2 or 3 years. I'd like to encourage you to support them as much as possible, because the idea is that the knowledge and the advancement that they create would help us to deal with hazards in the future.
The project is also being conducted at Soufrière Hills Volcano in Montserrat and Mount Pili in Martinique. The initiative comes as the country marks 5 years since La Soufrière's explosive eruption, which displaced approximately 20,000 people. With a high debt burden inherited by his administration, Honorable Dr. Godwin Friday is hoping to secure a debt swap arrangement at the upcoming IMF World Bank Group spring meetings in Washington next week. Speaking on radio, Prime Minister Friday said his government is actively exploring ways to reduce the national debt, which currently stands at approximately EC $3.4 billion.
But here, when we go to Washington, we have in our minds this plan with the situation that we're in. We're saying we need to clean up the situation in this country. What can we achieve at this major forum to set the context to say, well, this is how we are going to govern, give people confidence, those institutions, that we are going to deal with the debt situation? Because if we don't do that, things are going to be very, very difficult, much more difficult for us going forward. So we are going to have these meetings. We're going to seek to have debt relief in the sense of debt swaps. This is part of the process that the World Bank is doing now, to have processes where they exchange more expensive debt for lower cost debt on certain conditions and so forth.
The Prime Minister expressed confidence that the debt can be reduced, noting that the current level continues to have an indirect impact on the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Dr. Friday also criticized the previous ULP administration, accusing it of spreading misinformation regarding the country's financial situation.
These are the things that we need to do to turn things around, because we are going to turn things around. We know how to do it. But first of all, we have to know where we are. So when you hear the fellows from the previous administration talk about, how they've done so well and they do this and so on, don't believe that. What they have done is, it's easy to do what they did. If they say they do all sort of things, say they build this, they do that, and you get to a point now where the debt is, essentially unmanageable, if we continue on the course that we are going, that we inherited, and we will not continue in that course. But if we do, it would become a serious problem, not just for this generation, but for the next.
The IMF World Bank Group Spring meetings are scheduled to take place from Monday, April 13th to Saturday, April 18th in Washington, D.C. The meetings bring together central bankers, ministers of finance and development, and other key stakeholders to discuss the state of the global economy and other pressing international issues. Discussions typically focus on global growth prospects, financial stability, and poverty reduction, among other critical economic concerns. The St. Vincent and the Grenadines Teachers Union is celebrating the reinstatement of a full salary to educator, writer, and social activist Adriana King. In a statement issued on the union's official Facebook page, President Fiona Charles Williams said King has received official correspondence from the Public Service Commission confirming the reinstatement of her salary in full. Charles Williams described the development as a clear victory for the teachers' union and the beginning of vindication for King. She added that the union welcomes the decision and looks forward to the completion of the process. The SVG-TU president also used the opportunity to wish members a successful and productive tenure as they return for the third and final term of the academic year, which begins on Monday. Charles Williams further extended best wishes to the Ministry of Education, expressing confidence that the necessary arrangements have been made to ensure a productive and successful third term. A fire in Paul's Avenue has completely destroyed a house and several nearby businesses, including radio station Boom SVG. Owner of the destroyed building, Kingsley Collis, who is also the mass band leader for High Voltage, said thousands of dollars in investment for the band were lost in the blaze.
Band leader for High Voltage mass band. I just acquired this building behind from the persons them, from the owners, my family them. So that's for build me mass band now. The house me mass band. So there, just come from Trinidad, I now spend about $26,000 there about in materials. I just done build 2 sections there for get ready for go to the launching on Saturday. All my material, plus everything that all the electricals that I try to fit back in for get current, we ride the whole building, everything, just up, just gone. It's real heartbreaking. It affected 3 buildings. My building, the house in front burned, my building in the back burned, and then Boom FM burned out too. Boom FM totally gone. Jujube business downstairs.
The owner of the nearby house that was scorched expressed gratitude to the firefighters for their swift response, which helped contain the fire and prevented further damage.
Well, this fire here, I think it started about, well, just a little after 1 hour, 1 o'clock. Yeah, you know. And one of the things I have to say is that the way in which the fire department approached this fire, I think they did an excellent job. You know, for the you know, the scarce resources they have, I think they did an excellent job. When they came here, they was very, very hands-on and, you know, working with the community and everything like that. I think, you know, they did an excellent job. Fire is a thing, it's consume any and everything. And if you ain't careful, you know, what you spend your life putting together, you could lose it in a couple of minutes.
A bookstore in the area was partially destroyed, while the radio station and IQ-TV, located on the top floor of the building, were badly damaged. In a notice posted on its Facebook page, the radio station indicated that both Boom SVG and IQ-TV will be temporarily off air for the next few days. The proprietor of the radio station, Dwight Bing Joseph, said he is devastated by the loss, but remain determined to rebuild. The Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force, SVG-PF, said it is investigating the circumstances surrounding the fire that occurred in the early hours today, Friday, April 10th, 2026. The SVG-PF says at approximately 1:03 a.m., police were notified of the incident and fire officers responded promptly to the scene, where a residential structure was found engulfed in flames. The fire subsequently affected nearby buildings due to their close proximity. According to SVG-PF firefighters, they acted swiftly to contain and extinguish the blaze, preventing further spreading to surrounding properties. Police are investigating a shooting incident in Stony Grounds this afternoon that has reportedly left 2 men dead. Details surrounding the incident remain unclear at this time. However, the deceased have been identified as Enrique Shabulu John and Rahim Guy. The Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force is expected to launch a full investigation as officers work to determine the circumstances that led to the fatal shooting. Incidents of gun violence continue to be a concern in the country, prompting ongoing calls for increased vigilance and crime prevention efforts. More details will be provided as information becomes available. Vincy Mas 2026, The Great Escape, to launch at Arnersville tomorrow evening. This and other stories coming up when we return with more local news. Stay with us.
Welcome to Sister,
Welcome to the upgraded C-Star Limited,
where we offer to almost all your household items.
They've expanded their range to sofas, dining and patio sets, beds and mattresses, wardrobes, kitchen cabinets, office furniture. That's just a few from the luxurious collection. Not forgetting their signature quality windows, doors, rails, and bathroom enclosures. Journey on up to C-Star, where their friendly sales clerk is happy to assist. C-Star Limited, where quality meets style.
A funeral service should be one that you can be proud of, one that leaves lasting memories of your loved ones. And that's where you need the New Haven Funeral Home. We are proud of the quality and class we have brought to the industry. We are proud for having trained the very first certified embalmers in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We are proud of leading the way in terms of live streaming of funerals online so that your family members overseas could also be part of the celebration of life. We are constantly improving our services. We are driven by customer satisfaction, and we are proud of all that we do.
New Haven Funeral Home.
On Friday, April 10th, you can be a millionaire with a lotto jackpot of $1,100,000. Your dream vacation, a university degree, that new ride, your new house can all suddenly be within your reach. what a Little Lotto can do. $1,100,000, the Lotto jackpot for Friday, April 10th. You have to be in it to win it.
Bowman's Pharmacy, why choose us? We have all your prescriptions and over-the-counter medications, personal care products, lowest price guaranteed. Located conveniently next to the Bank of SVG on Grenville Street. Opening hours Monday to Thursday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Email us bowmanpharmacy@yahoo.com. Call us today at 456-2235 or 593-3918. Bowman's Pharmacy, easy to find and ready to serve you.
Welcome back. Vincy Mas 2026 themed The Great Escape will be officially launched tomorrow, Saturday, April 11th at the E.T. Joshua Tarmac in Arnesville. The Carnival Development Corporation, CDC, says this year's festival is being positioned not simply as a celebration, but a strategic cultural and tourism product designed to enhance St. Vincent and the Grenadines' visibility on the regional and international stage. According to the CDC, the theme, The Great Escape, reflects a powerful narrative, inviting locals, members of the diaspora, and visitors alike to rediscover the freedom, creativity, and vibrancy that define Vincentian culture. The corporation also extended its appreciation to partners, sponsors, and stakeholders who continue to support the growth and evolution of Vincy Mas, adding that it looks forward to delivering a festival that reflects excellence, authenticity, and national pride. Tomorrow's official launch follows a media launch held on Tuesday, which featured a catamaran cruise along the Leeward coast and involved a number of stakeholders. The launch event is expected to begin at 6 p.m. and will include performances by local artists, addresses from government officials, the CDC, and sponsors. The event will also feature an appearance by contestants in the Miss SVG pageant. The SVG Hotel and Tourism Association, SVG-TA, in collaboration with the Canawan Group and Estate Villas, will host a week of activities dedicated to housekeeping professionals in St. Vincent and the Grenadines for the first time this year. The announcement was made by SVG-TA President Isola Giddens at the inaugural SVG-TA Members Networking Forum, which was recently held at Sandals Resorts. Giddens explained that the local week of activities will coincide with the International Housekeeping Week, which will be observed from September 13th to the 19th this year.
Housekeeping is an area that we look at in the hospitality industry as the back of the house. But we need to change that concept and put housekeeping at the forefront, because they are the ones who keeps the cleanliness. You know, they're the honest ones that go into the guest rooms and clean and make that comfortableness, you know, when the guests, they are here on our island. So we need to encourage that. So you'll be getting more of that from VJ and myself through the board, SVG-HTA. So look out for September 13 to 19.
The SVG-HTA president added that another initiative to be rolled out in 2026 will focus on identifying and celebrating individuals with outstanding culinary skills, as the association seeks to spotlight talent within the hospitality sector.
Our bartenders, our mixologists, and we are looking to seek in different concepts how we can create a team of chefs and mixologists to attend the culinary competition in Barbados and or Miami in November of this year, 2026, or in 2027, because we need to recognize that we do have quite talented persons here in St. Vincent in that area, and this is very, very an initiative that I am looking forward to, and to make sure that that is possible. So we are coming at you one after the other.
In addition, the SVG-HTA is planning Restaurant Week, which is scheduled to run from June 21st to the 27th. St. Lucia's Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre reaffirms CARICOM's solidarity with Cuba amid sanctions. This from the region when we return. Stay with us.
The Ever-Ready Funeral Home at French's is your friend in times of grief. With over 40 years' experience, they are prepared to take care of all your funeral arrangements. Embalming, lowering device service, grave mattresses, carpeting, vaults, tombs and wreaths. Arrangements for television obituaries. Cremation is available upon request. Ever-Ready Funeral Home offers the finest in caskets and coffins, local and imported. So, in your time of need, call Ever-Ready Funeral Home at any time. 456-1494, Ever-Ready Funeral Home, offering service above self.
Quality products, quality care, low prices, great customer service, all at Q-Care Pharmacy. Q-Care leads the way, providing all your pharmaceutical needs, a variety of personal care products, and so much more. Located on Halifax Street. Telephone number 451-2690. Q-Care Pharmacy, where the Q stands for quality.
More jackpot money, more reasons to play this game. More money for way. Super 6, a bigger jackpot game. $210,000. That's the Super 6 jackpot for Friday, April 10th. It's $210,000. More jackpot money, more reasons to play this game. More money for way. Super 6, a bigger jackpot game.
I may not like you.
You may not agree with me.
We may not believe the same things.
But that does not mean I have to hate
or discriminate.
Spread love, not hate.
A message from Equal Rights, Access and Opportunities, SVG Inc.
Courts is giving you the chance to experience the Caribbean's premier music and arts event, the St. Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival. Every Courts purchase of $2,999 or more from now to April 23rd gives you a chance to win an all-expenses-paid trip for two. To enjoy the music, the flair, and to create unforgettable memories for you and your guests. Don't miss this opportunity. Shop today, only at Courts, bringing value home. Conditions apply.
Welcome back. St. Lucia's Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre has reasserted CARICOM's unwavering support for Cuba as the nation grapples with stringent U.S. sanctions and a debilitating energy crisis. During his weekly briefing, the Prime Minister detailed ongoing humanitarian pledges and addressed the status of Cuban medical professionals. We hear more in this report.
CARICOM has, at the last meeting, you know that CARICOM was speaking about aid and humanitarian aid for Cuba. I think that CARICOM is still in that vein. Things are changing very dramatically in Cuba. I think CARICOM still believes that we should continue the position of seeing if we can get some humanitarian aid towards Cuba. And I think that's a position, and St. Lucia would stick to that CARICOM position up to now until we have to act differently. Right now, I believe that we're going to work with CARICOM in terms of humanitarian aid for Cuba in the structure that's been designed by CARICOM.
The international news is coming up next. Stay with us.
On Friday, April 10th, you can be a millionaire with a lotto jackpot of $1,100,000. Your dream vacation, a university degree, that new ride, your new house can all suddenly be within your reach. What a little lotto can do. $1,100,000. The lotto jackpot for Friday, April 10th. You have to be in it to win it.
Singer is a family store. We sell everything you need for your kitchen and more. Top brands and appliances. TVs, fridges, cookers. We make your life so easy. Just come in and see us. A wide range of furniture. Right here at Singer. Affordable beds and mattresses. Right here at Singer. machines to make your laundry clean and fresh. Singer is a family store
that gives you the best hire purchase deals.
Right here at Singer.
We'll outfit your home.
Right here at Singer, the #1 family store.
It's us with Singer.
Since 2012, we have provided reliable, professional dialysis services in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We are now proud to offer you new solutions for your health problems. Each new solution is being delivered to you with the same high degree of care and professionalism. We also use the best technology in the delivery of our services. So, does your doctor need a precise view of what's happening inside your body? Let us perform an ultrasound for you. Ladies, if it's your breasts, then choose our mammography service. For all issues related to men and women's health at any stage in your life, our team can perform the necessary investigations to put your mind at ease and recommend solutions for your problems. If it's to see within your chest or check for broken bones and fractures, then use our state-of-the-art U-Arm X-ray service. For you aging men and women, we can now check your bone density, which will reduce any complications that may arise with overall bone health, osteoporosis, or arthritis. Health Solutions will provide answers and results in a timely, accurate manner in the most comfortable environment, while you are taken care of by well-trained and experienced staff. Please call us today at 451-2836 or 434-3170, or visit us online at healthsolutionsSVG.com. You can also follow us on Facebook or Instagram. Health Solutions, where we are providing solutions in SVG with care.
Welcome back. On the international scene, Russia has announced a temporary Easter ceasefire from a Saturday afternoon to the end of Easter Sunday, with President Vladimir Putin ordering troops to observe it while remaining ready to prevent provocations. The Kremlin describes the pause as a humanitarian and says longer-term peace could follow if President Volodymyr Zelensky takes appropriate decisions, including on Donbass. As we hear in this report, on Saturday afternoon, church bells will mark the start of a Kremlin-declared ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine, due to last until midnight on Orthodox Easter Sunday.
On Saturday afternoon, these bells will ring like they always do.
But this time, they'll be marking the beginning of a ceasefire between Ukraine and Russia. It's supposed to last until the end of the Orthodox Easter holiday at midnight on Sunday.
For Christians here, it's the most important holiday of the year. The Kremlin announced the ceasefire late on Thursday and said it expects Ukraine to follow Russia's example. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky responded, saying Kyiv had already called for a ceasefire. But Ukrainians remain weary.
It would be very nice, but I don't believe in it, that this ceasefire is possible at all.
Russia violates any ceasefires and it doesn't want it. Of course, it would be great if it happened. Possibly we could have at least one peaceful day, but I don't think it will happen.
Last year, Russia again declared an Easter ceasefire, but both sides accused the other of committing multiple violations of that truce.
In my opinion, we should not cease fire. They won't follow it anyway. There was a ceasefire and their glide bombs were still flying towards us.
And as Orthodox Christian here in Ukraine and in Russia get ready for the Easter holiday, when it comes to a ceasefire, there are few true believers. Audrey McAlpine, Al Jazeera, Kyiv.
Meanwhile, separate and unprecedented security measures are in place in Islamabad ahead of indirect talks between U.S. and Iranian delegations, with 10,000 police, paramilitary and military personnel securing key sites and the red zone sealed. Both sides are due to arrive today, with the U.S. Vice President leading the U.S. delegation and the Iranian-led yet to be confirmed. That's the news. Sports is just ahead with Triska Campbell. But before that, let's take a look at the local weather forecast.
The weather report sponsored by General Hardware.
Listen, the big hardware stores have been ripping off Vincentians for years with their high prices. They claim General Hardware with the lowest prices ever in SVG. Now, the big guys are scrambling to drop their prices, but they still can't beat the General. So don't let them fool you. General Hardware still has the best prices on lumber, plywood, and steel. And even with a sale, the General beats that too. So go on, compare prices. Then come to General Hardware and save dollars every day. Because nobody beats the General. Nobody. General Hardware Supplies, located next to Yvette's Pork City in Arnesville. Call 453-9000.
Present conditions cloudy and slightly hazy, winds northeast at 15 kilometers per hour, temperature 26.2 degrees Celsius, relative humidity 81%. The barometric pressure 1013.6 millibars, 24-hour rainfall 0.6 millimeter. Today's maximum temperature 29.1 degrees Celsius. Today's minimum temperature 23.7 degrees Celsius. Sunset 6:17 p.m. and sunrise will be at 5:54 a.m. And for the forecast, partly cloudy to cloudy and slightly hazy with occasional scattered showers. A synopsis: weak unstable conditions are affecting the islands.
The weather report was sponsored by General Hardware.
Across our Caribbean, we're going digital, working smarter and living safer online.
In Dominica, we don't fall for fake prices. We check before we click.
In Grenada, we verify before we share, keeping our hard-earned money safe from hackers.
In St. Lucia, we report cyberbullying, protecting our children and each other.
In St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we report scams fast, protecting our neighbors and our communities.
Together, we're building a cyber-smart Caribbean, keeping our people and our data safe, standing up to scams and cybercrime. We stay connected, but always alert. This message is brought to you by the Caribbean Digital Transformation Project. Stay smart, stay safe. Think CARD TP. Visit cardtpconnect.org.
Welcome to the Evening Sports. I'm Triska Campbell. We hear that for Tevin Imlach, the upcoming regional 4-day season is more than just a quest for silverware with the Guyana Harpy Eagles. It serves as a critical platform for a prolific outing to maintain a spot in the test squad. When the championship begins on April 12th, Imlach will be operating under a shadow of a challenging tour of New Zealand. Despite the recent lean patch with the bat at the international level, the right-hander insists his confidence remains unshaken as he prepares to move back to the order for the first-class season. While leading Ghana to another title is the primary objective, Imlach is acutely aware of the selection pressure mounting before Sri Lanka visits the Caribbean in June.
Where is Tevin Imlach as a player mentally ahead of his 3 matches?
Yeah, I'm in a good place. Like I said, I'm back, batting at 4, well, potentially at 4, where I'm comfortable, where I'm used to. So, I also have my method, my way of going about batting. I have an understanding of my game and how I go about scoring runs batting at 4. So the idea is to trust that method again and go with it. I'm confident that I'll be able to score runs.
Given the stakes, you want to maintain your spot in the team. Is that a quiet driving force that you want to do well to ensure that, if you do well, hopefully things can take care of itself?
Yeah, well, that's it, more of allowing things to take care of itself. My focus is on the 4-day championship. Once I, do well in that competition, anything can happen, but the selectors are in charge of selecting the team. I leave that to them, and my focus is on the game. I'm always looking to evolve my game, always looking to get better. So it's always around that. Whether New Zealand went well or not, it's always me trying to improve on my game. So, yeah, I've done work. Hopefully it shows in the 4-day season.
The St. Vincent and the Grenadines Football Federation engaged the media and the public at a recent press conference held at its conference room in Kingston, where key stakeholders shared insights ahead of the upcoming international fixture. Lady Heat is set to face the U.S. Virgin Islands on April 14, 2026, right here in SVG at the Arnesville Sports Complex from 5 p.m. with a free admission. Speaking at the press conference, President of the SVG-FF, Mr. Tashi Spring, noted that despite the previous 2 losses going into this game, he anticipates a better showcase of competition from Lady Heat.
Having gone through at least 3 years where football, female football would have been pretty much non-existent. And we're talking about performing at the very top. Now, we have played Mexico and we have played Puerto Rico. And I know it is easy for us to look at Lady Heat versus Mexico, Lady Heat versus Puerto Rico, but truth is when I look at those games, I'm seeing developed, mature, professional female program on display against one that we are now striving to resurrect. And I think if we look at it from that standpoint, we're in a position to give at least a much more fair assessment, evaluations on our effort. So I remain very proud as president of what our ladies have been doing and the effort that they have been putting in. And I would say with respect to the work and the progress that our young ladies have basically been grinding out, that as president, I expect a much better showcase, much better representation, much better competitive effort.
The 39th Curved Aquatics Championships was hosted in Martinique from April 3rd to the 8th, 2026, with over 400 swimmers from 24 countries in the Caribbean region participating. The team SVG was composed of 4 swimmers in Kiani Deshong and Kagri Williams, who swam in the boys 13 to 14 age group, along with Hazen Dabriel and Matthew Bala, who swam in the boys 15 to 17 age group. The team was led by coach Tamara Saint-Hilaire. Kiani Deshong became SVG's first male swimmer to win medals in the first year of the boys 13 to 14 group. He won a silver medal in the 200-meter breaststroke and a bronze medal in the 100-meter breaststroke. Kiani also broke the SVG age group record in the 50-meter freestyle. Kagri Williams qualified for the finals of the 50-meter breaststroke and 100-meter breaststroke events and placed 6th in both events. Hazen Dabriel qualified for the finals of the 200-meter breaststroke, where he placed 8th. He broke 2 national open records in the 200-meter backstroke and the 200-meter individual medley. Hazen also broke 3 national age group records in the boys 15 to 17 age group in the 200-meter freestyle, the 200-meter backstroke, and the 200-meter individual medley. Meantime, Matthew Bala swam in his last year of eligibility for Carifta. He represented SVG for 5 consecutive Carifta championships. That's how we end sports this evening. I'm Truska Campbell. We'll be right back to wrap things up.
Listen, the big hardware stores have been ripping off Vincentians for years with their high prices. They came General Hardware with the lowest prices ever in SVG. Now, the big guys are scrambling to drop their prices, but they still can't beat the General. So don't let them fool you. General Hardware still has the best prices on lumber, plywood, and steel. And even with a sale, the General beats that too. So go on, compare prices. Then come to General Hardware and save dollars every day. Because nobody beats the General. Nobody. General Hardware Supplies, located next to Yvette's Pork City in Arnesville. Call 453-9000.
More jackpot money, more reasons to play this game. More money for way. Super 6 a bigger jackpot game. $210,000. That's the Super 6 jackpot for Friday, April 10th. It's $210,000. More jackpot money, more reasons to play this game. More money for way. Super 6 a bigger jackpot game.
Welcome back. Thank you, Triska, for bringing us the sports. Now for a second look at the headlines. International scientists launch major study of La Soufrière volcano. St. Lucia's Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre reaffirms CARICOM solidarity with Cuba amid sanctions. Russia announces orthodox Easter ceasefire as Ukraine remains skeptical. And in sports, IMLAC eyes big runs in upcoming regional 4D to solidify West Indies' spot. Now for a recap of the local weather forecast. Partly cloudy to cloudy and slightly hazy with occasional scattered showers. On behalf of all of us here at SVG-TV, thanks for viewing. I am Twyla Thompson, inviting you to visit our Facebook page for a recap of the news and daily headlines. Also, check out SVG-TV's news in 15 weekdays at 12:45 p.m. Again, thanks for viewing and enjoy the rest of your evening.
SVG's Heart and Soul. Magic 103.7, 91.5. Today's music, yesterday's hits.
24 karat magic in the air.
A UK political proposal to deny visas over reparation demands draws strong pushback from Caribbean leaders. Antigua and Barbuda sets April 30th for general elections, nearly 2 years ahead of schedule. And Jamaica's healthcare system comes under pressure as doctors assess the impact of departing Cuban medical workers. I'm Renee Sion, bringing you some of the big stories across the region in this Caribbean Week in Review. A proposal out of the United Kingdom is drawing sharp reaction across the Caribbean, and it's reigniting the long-standing debate over slavery reparations. Historian and reparations advocate Professor Sir Hilary Beckles is leading that response, delivering a blistering critique of a suggestion to deny UK visas to people from countries seeking compensation for the legacy of slavery. The proposal comes from the far-right Reform UK party led by Nigel Farage. Sir Hilary, who chairs the CARICOM Reparations Commission, says the position reflects what he describes as a lingering racial inequality and historical bias, and he's warning that it risks deepening divisions rather than addressing the issue. Now, this is not UK government policy, but it comes at a time when the reparations conversation is gaining global momentum. Just weeks ago, the United Nations adopted a resolution recognizing slavery and the transatlantic slave trade as crimes against humanity and calling for reparatory justice. Across the Caribbean, there is growing concern that proposals like this one target ordinary citizens and attempt to silence legitimate calls for accountability. Regional leaders continue to argue that reparations are about justice, development, and repairing historical harm, not retaliation. And as the conversation intensifies, the Caribbean is making it clear it will not back down from that demand. Here's more on Sir Hilary's response in this ABS News report.
Party's leader Nigel Farage said this measure would apply to any country developing a formal approach, and the ban would cover all visa types, including ones for visitors and work. The BBC quotes Reform UK as saying reparations demands are unfair and insulting. The party believes modern Britain should not pay for historical actions from centuries ago. Chairman of the CARICOM Reparations Commission, CRC, Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, insists that denying or discouraging reparations continues a historical injustice.
I would suggest that they rethink that notion
about the punishing people who are calling for justice. I would ask that they rethink that, because the idea that the victims of an enormous crime calling for justice are to be doubly punished is tragic.
The proposal by the right-wing political party in the United Kingdom comes mere days after the United Nations General Assembly supported a resolution declaring the transatlantic slave trade the gravest crime against humanity. It was adopted by 123 votes to 3, with the UK among the countries that abstained. Meanwhile, Sir Hilary reveals there were some segments of the British politics that insisted that slavery was in Britain's national interest and that black people were not deserving of freedom.
If you bring that argument forward a century, I think political leaders who take that view would realize that punishing the victim again is in fact consistent with those people at the time of emancipation.
Sir Hilary maintains that reparations must be addressed through respectful government-to-government diplomatic engagement.
St. Lucia is adding its voice to growing regional concern over the United Kingdom's proposed visa restrictions tied to reparations. Officials there are pushing back against the proposal, describing it as an affront to justice and a dismissal of centuries of exploitation linked to the transatlantic slave trade. The response adds to mounting Caribbean concerns as the issue continues to gain traction across the region. The details in this DBS News report.
St. Lucia is among several countries in the region and the world that has made calls for former colonial powers to pay reparations for slavery, which the UN General Assembly has recognized as the gravest crime against humanity.
We did not ask Columbus and the Europeans who came to conquer our part of the world for Britain. We didn't ask them for visas when they arrived. And it is damn insulting that 500 years later, they want to hold against us the visas that we ought not to require as former subjects of the United Kingdom, the people who rebuilt Britain after the Second World War, when citizens of Britain refused to build back their own country.
Bousquet says that countries must not only demand reparations for slavery and native genocide, but unpaid labor done by the Windrush generation that rebuilt Britain after the war. The UK Reform Party has stated that the UK made, quote, huge sacrifices to end the slave trade and described calls for British taxpayers to pay compensation as insulting. The party also argued that Britain has paid reparations through billions of visas issued to former colonies and billions in foreign aid over the years. In 2015, then UK Prime Minister David Cameron visited Jamaica and declared that the United Kingdom would not respond positively to demands for reparations, outlining similar reasons as the UK Reform Party. However, Bousquet highlights two discoveries made during that visit regarding the United Kingdom and reparations.
Number one was that Britain's payment of reparations to the slave owners, the £20 million that was paid to the slave owners from 1834, Britain only finished paying that in 2015, while David Cameron was in the Caribbean. And it was also possible to disclose while he was in Jamaica that his family, the family of David Cameron, the Prime Minister, had owned 500 slaves in Jamaica that he had never accounted for or disclosed.
Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre has described the situation as very unfortunate.
Let us see how it develops. This could be normal political rhetoric from right-wing parties, but we hope that that's not true. We hope so.
Antigua and Barbuda is heading into an early general election with voters set to go to the polls on April 30th. Prime Minister Gaston Brown says the move is aimed at ensuring continued national stability as his administration seeks a renewed mandate. The ruling Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party is campaigning on a theme of renaissance, pointing to what it describes as progress in expanding the country's socio-economic infrastructure. All 17 constituencies will be contested, with the Labour Party aiming to secure a fourth consecutive term in office. The elections are being called about 2 years early, with the next poll not constitutionally due until 2028.
That is one of the main reasons why I've called early elections, to ensure the continued stability of the country. I do not want to be placed in a situation in which you have global instability and then we are faced with domestic political pressures. So the whole issue is to put this issue behind us, to get a new mandate, a strong mandate, and one in which we'll be able to deal with all of the challenges that will come our way in a very effective manner. And I think that any objective person will confirm that the best team to lead Antigua and Barbuda during the period of crisis is certainly Gaston Brown and Team Labour.
A disagreement is emerging within CARICOM, with Trinidad and Tobago calling for a special meeting to review the reappointment of Secretary General Dr. Carla Barnett. The government says it was excluded from key discussions, with Foreign Affairs Minister Sean Sobers pointing to documentary evidence showing the country was not listed to attend a leaders' retreat in Nevis, where the decision was made. He says Trinidad and Tobago was later informed that only heads of government could attend, effectively disinviting the country, as Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar had already left, leaving him as head of the delegation. Sobers argued the move departs from established CARICOM procedures. The government is now pushing for the matter to be revisited at an urgent regional meeting. We get the details in this TTT News report.
A listing was provided to all members which articulated essentially the boats that would be leaving St. Kitts to go to Nevis. It articulated the attendees on each of those boats. Trinidad and Tobago was not listed as an attendee on the boat.
Minister of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs Sean Sobers pointed to physical documentation distributed to member states as further proof that Trinidad and Tobago was excluded from the trip to Nevis, where the appointment of CARICOM's Secretary General took place. Speaking at a post-cabinet media briefing, he said that on the morning of the retreat, member states were informed that only heads of government would be allowed to attend. But Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar had already left the island, leaving Minister Sobers as the representative for Trinidad and Tobago.
We eventually received a message confirming the position that heads of government only would be allowed to attend, which essentially disinvited Trinidad and Tobago, me being the head of delegation.
He said foreign affairs ministers were formally redirected away from the retreat and told to attend a separate community council meeting instead.
We were informed as foreign ministers that we were to report to the community council meeting, which was also being held on the same day as the retreat, and we were not allowed to attend the retreat as heads of delegation.
The minister said this exclusion represents a serious departure from established CARICOM procedures.
This is what we of because it essentially departs from the normal procedure and process involved. In any event, the agenda items listed on that day of the retreat did not touch and concern the reappointment or the election of a new Secretary General.
Minister Sobers reaffirmed that Trinidad and Tobago is not seeking to leave CARICOM.
We believe that CARICOM is important. However, we believe that in order to make CARICOM relevant, to make CARICOM efficient, to make CARICOM effective, that there are certain changes, fundamental changes that have to be made.
Cuba is continuing to rely on floating power plants to support its electricity supply as the country faces ongoing energy challenges. One of those vessels, operated by a Turkish energy company, is currently docked in Havana, forming part of a fleet of power ships supplying electricity under a commercial arrangement. The ships have been used for several years to help stabilize the island's aging power grid, particularly during periods of fuel shortages. Despite that support, blackouts remain widespread, with authorities pointing to infrastructure issues and limited fuel supplies. The situation underscores the strain on Cuba's energy system as officials work to maintain consistent power across the island. We'll have more news right after this break.
Ever been told you can't use Stripe in your country? That was Marsha's reality until she found GloboVest. With GloboVest, she set up her U.S. business in just 3 days. No travel, no stress. She unlocked access to global payment systems, Stripe, Mercury, Wise, and started accepting payments from customers worldwide. Now she runs her online business like a pro professional and profitable, all without leaving home. Since 2022, GloboVest has helped entrepreneurs from non-supported countries get access to global financial systems with speed and support. And if we can't form your company, you get a full refund. No risk, no excuses. So what are you waiting for? Your global business starts now. Visit www.globovest.com.
Jamaica's public healthcare system is coming under increased pressure as doctors assess the impact of the departure of Cuban medical personnel. The Jamaica Medical Doctors Association says it is conducting a survey to determine how service delivery is being affected across the island. President Dr. Rene Badro says workloads have intensified, with local doctors now forced to fill critical gaps under existing contracts. She points to the Linstead Hospital, where the loss of 9 Cuban healthcare workers has left just over 10 doctors, with additional staff reassigned from the St. Catherine's Health Department. Dr. Badro says the strain is stretching already limited resources as concerns of overtime remain unresolved pending a ruling from the Industrial Disputes Tribunal.
When the Cubans left, Linstead Public Hospital lost about 9 Cubans, left about 11 or so doctors, right? What happened now is that the doctors from the St. Catherine Health Department, that's the doctors that work in the health center, they are now forced to work at Linstead Hospital. And my doctors are calling me and asking their representatives, can we say no? And you know what I had to tell them? You cannot, because that is a contract that we signed. What now we have to do is what we've been doing for years, patching the system and extending ourselves to ensure that our patients are treated with dignity and with the best amount of care that we can give them.
The Jamaican government is investigating reports that students are being exposed to inappropriate adult behavior in schools still being used as shelters after Hurricane Melissa. The concerns were raised by President of the Jamaica's Teachers Association, Dr. Mark Malaver, who described the situation as deeply troubling. Speaking at the JTA's education conference, he said there are reports that some shelterees have been engaging in sexual activity within view of students, an issue he says should outrage all stakeholders. Authorities say the matter is now under review as they assess conditions in affected schools and move to ensure students' safety.
And the conditions, colleagues, are deeply troubling. Reports of shelterees engaging in sexual activity within the clear view of students is something that everyone should be outraged about. Reports of teachers, resources going missing. Reports of schools being transformed into spaces befitting of tenement yard that no longer represents institutions of learning is something that every individual should be outraged about. And meanwhile, our students are in tents, exposed to the elements, along with their teachers, while classrooms to be occupied by shelterees under fan. That is not just unacceptable, it is outrageous.
Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie is calling for evidence to support the claims, saying the matter had not previously been reported to his ministry. He says officials have been in contact with the JTA regarding shelter conditions for nearly 100 displaced persons and is urging that any supporting information be provided to police, who are now investigating.
I am extremely disappointed in the comments made by the president of the JTA. It is unfortunate, and in the correspondence that was sent to the permanent secretary, there is nowhere in that letter that issue was raised. I am saying to him, if he has the evidence to produce it, because I've asked the police to investigate these allegations. And you know, it is unfortunate that the circumstances that these people find themselves in, that the president of the JTA wants to undermine them and want to, you know, to treat them in a manner which is very disrespectful without providing the evidence. And based on the checks that I've done of all our shelter managers across the island, nobody has indicated any such incident has taken place. And I am asking the president of the JTA if he cannot provide the information to apologize publicly for the disrespect and the disregard that he has demonstrated towards those persons in the shelters. It is rather unfortunate that somebody at that level can stoop that low without providing the evidence to substantiate the allegations.
Stay with us. Up next is sports. Time now for a roundup of some of the sporting developments in the region this past week. We kick off with athletics, and Jamaica has done it again at the Carifta Games in Grenada. Competing at the Kirani James Athletic Stadium, Jamaica topped the medal table for a 40th straight year, finishing with 71 medals. Trinidad and Tobago secured second with 35, while the Bahamas placed third with 30. Among the standout performances, Jamaica's young sprinters once again delivered on the big stage, reinforcing the country's sprinting legacy and depth at the junior level. And in the pool, the Bahamas delivered a dominant performance at the Carifta Swimming Championships in Martinique. The Bahamians topped the medal table, continuing their strong tradition in regional swimming. Jamaica secured second, with Trinidad and Tobago rounding out the top three. The championships once again highlighted the depth of Caribbean talent in the water, with several swimmers producing standout performances and record-breaking swims across multiple events. To cricket now, veteran West Indies opener Evan Lewis is back in the red ball game, ending a 9-year absence from first-class cricket. The Trinidadian has been named in the TT Red Force squad for the West Indies Championships, marking his first appearance in the format since 2017. Lewis recently reserved his international retirement and says he has now set his sights on earning a test call-up. The 34-year-old forced his way back into the squad with dominant form at the domestic level, scoring 655 runs, including 3 consecutive centuries. He is expected to open the batting when Red Force face the Leeward Islands in Antigua. And finally in sports, badminton could be heading for a major change. The sport is facing a global shortage of traditional feather shuttlecocks driven by bird flu, rising demand, and shifts in poultry supply. Now, the world governing body is exploring alternatives, including synthetic options, in what could mark a major shift for the game. More in this TTT Sports report.
The Badminton World Federation says it will begin trialing synthetic shuttlecocks in international tournaments as it works to secure the future of the game. A traditional badminton shuttlecock is constructed with 16 feathers, all taken from the same wing of a duck or goose, engineered to give the perfect flight and spin. But that precision is becoming harder and more expensive to guarantee. China produces most of the world's shuttlecocks, but repeated outbreaks of bird flu have hit poultry numbers hard. And as consumers return to eating pork after African swine fever disrupted the market in 2018, demand for poultry feathers has taken another hit. Additionally, the sport's explosive growth in popularity and prices have soared. Now, the Badminton World Federation is responding, announcing trials of synthetic shuttlecocks at Grade 3 and junior international events, with data collected from manufacturers, players, and officials. The BWF says the trials are part of a long-term sustainability strategy and a sign that after years of monitoring the crisis, the governing body is finally ready to act.
And that's sports. We'll be right back.
Ever been told you can't use Stripe in your country? That was Marsha's reality until she found GloboVest. With GloboVest, she set up her U.S. business in just 3 days. No travel, no stress. She unlocked access to global payment systems, Stripe, Mercury, Wise, and started accepting payments from customers worldwide. Now she runs her online business like a pro professional and profitable, all without leaving home. Since 2022, GloboVest has helped entrepreneurs from non-supported countries get access to global financial systems with speed and support. And if we can't form your company, you get a full refund. No risk, no excuses. So what are you waiting for? Your global business starts now. Visit www.globovest.com.
Let's take a quick look now at some of the other stories that made newspaper headlines. The Express paper in Trinidad and Tobago printed the headline, "It could have been any one of us, Rowley on Pigeon Point tragedy." It says former Trinidad and Tobago Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley is urging national reflection following the fatal jet ski incident at Pigeon Point that claimed the life of a 7-year-old girl. He says the tragedy, which occurred in a designated bathing area, is a stark reminder that such an incident could have happened to anyone as investigations continue and safety concerns grow. Over in the Bahamas, the Tribune newspaper carried the headline, "Husband of Missing American Woman Arrested." According to the publication, police in the Bahamas have arrested the husband of a missing American woman as investigations intensify into her disappearance at sea. Authorities say the woman reportedly fell overboard from a small dinghy near Abaco, with strong currents carrying her away as questions continue to surround the circumstances of the incident. Police say the man remains in custody as inquiries continue. Those were some of the stories that made newspaper headlines. And before we go, let's take a look on the lighter side. Scientists have finally answered a question many thought strictly belonged in cartoons. Is mayonnaise an instrument? Well, according to a new study, the answer is yes. Researchers found that mayonnaise can actually produce sound in a controlled way, meaning it qualifies as a musical instrument. The team even created a track using nothing but mayonnaise sounds, proving that your sandwich spread might just have a future in music. So, next time you're in the kitchen, you just might be closer to a recording studio than you think. And that's where we end Caribbean Week in Review. Join us again next week when we recap the stories making headlines across the region. I'm Renee Sion.